The Saints finally get the offensive performance that we have been waiting to see with so much talent, bringing in Derek Carr, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, Rashid Shaheed. You get Juwan Johnson back this week. The Saints put up over 500 yards of offense for the first time this season. They get the win over the Colts in Indianapolis. We are live in Lucas Oil Stadium. Joining you on NewOrleans.Football, I'm Brooke Kirchhoffer. He's Nick Underhill. We're finally talking about something positive, which I think we're both excited about. But look, can you continue this on? We talked about it after the Patriots win. Can they be consistent? They weren't able to show that. You've got the Bears this week at home. Can you make it happen week to week?
Yeah, we are not breaking down ass today, so I am very, very excited about that. Finally got to see a decent game. Offensive performance, they moved the ball 511 yards. We will not be, there's nothing to autopsy at the Toro Hospital. They sponsor our studio, of course, so make sure you check them out if you have any medical needs, and go to PJ's to get your day started. They have the best coffee in the whole entire city. Locations anywhere you go. There's one a couple blocks away, most likely. And, of course, if you need a new car, hit up my guy, Matt Bowers. He'll take care of you. Best prices, best customer care. You need a new car, they'll get you in and out in the most painless possible way. So let's get into these ads.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Are you looking for the perfect engagement ring? Look no further than Friend & Company Fine Jewelers' new engagement salon. This new area houses a wide selection of engagement rings to choose from in all cuts, sizes, and colors. Their experienced staff offer 5-star customer care to help you find the perfect ring to express your love. Visit their new engagement salon today. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, the perfect ring for the perfect moment, and also for the perfect person. 7713 Maple Street between Adams and Burdett Street. 504-866-5433. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Check them out at friendandcompany.com.
For fast relief coffee.
Mike Hoss here. When the AC goes out and it's hot outside, every second counts. For over 40 years, Keefe's AC Heating and Electrical has helped thousands of families stay cool in the sizzling hot months. Keefe's Get You Cool in 3 hours or less guarantee is what our customers love the most on the North or South Shore. Call Keefe's. We'll get you cool in 3 hours or less guaranteed.
Keefe's Air Conditioning and Heating.
And now electrical.
For fast relief, call Keefe.
Moe's Barbecue is located in Metairie. They have your game day needs taken care of. Whether you're tailgating or watching the Black and Gold or LSU at home with friends, Moe's has you covered. Order pulled pork, wings, ribs, sides, and more. Come in with the family for lunch and dinner, as our kids' meals will please even the pickiest of eaters. Tailgating, parties at home, lunch and dinner, Moe's Barbecue will handle it all. Moe's Original Barbecue, 1101 North Causeway Boulevard between 48th and 49th Street in Metairie. Call 504-407-5333 for your catering order today. 504-407-5333. Moe's Original Barbecue in Metairie. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show.
Let's get into our lead topic presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, the official jewelers of the New Orleans Saints. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers is home to a new engagement salon where they have a wide selection of engagement rings. And while you're there, ask them about the fleur-de-lis collection of earrings and a necklace. They are specially priced for our NOF audience. And what a better way to celebrate a Saints win than going to buy your significant other some nice jewelry. Good way to celebrate the Saints offense getting back on track, which is our lead topic. They got back on track for one game. Let's talk about this one game. We will talk about, look, they need to continue this consistently, but let's just talk about the success they had in this one game and kind of marinate on this one win of over 500 offensive yards.
I thought it was just about as good as it could be, save for Chris Olave, who we'll get to a little bit later. But they ran the ball well. They attacked the middle of the field. They played with good tempo. They were specific in how they attacked the Colts defense. So it was kind of like that checklist of things, like all the things, like they aren't doing this, they aren't doing this, they aren't doing this. They handled all of it. I thought the most interesting thing about it, and I think it's probably the best place to start, is that they kind of took the ball out of Derek Carr's hands in the red zone, and they were very successful there because of it. He did have one touchdown pass down there on the choice route to Alvin Kamara, but it was kind of a dump off, and Alvin made the rest of it work. And then the other times it was all Taysom running, all Alvin running. So it was very good blocking, very good running, but I thought that was maybe the most interesting thing about it. It was a little bit of self-awareness about, like, hey, this isn't working, so let's try to do something else. And they did something else, and it worked really, really well.
Well, that's something we've been talking about. Look, you bring in quarterback Derek Carr, find out his strengths and weaknesses, and play to his strengths. It's something we've continued to talk about week after week on this show. The hard conversations were had this week, and look, it sounds like they paid off. These guys were back on track. Chris Olave did have a few questionable moments in the game, but that didn't seem so much as a Carr-Olave connection. Maybe Olave dealing with some things throughout the flow of the game, maybe just seemed a little bit out of it. But credit to Derek Carr. He had this offense humming and just moving really, really well.
He did, and he made all the passes he needed to make. The throws down the field were on point. They noticed something with the way that they were defending go balls to where they could break inside and kind of have an advantage there with the way that the Colts defense was playing them. Normally they break them to the outside, so they made that adjustment, and that was very specific to it. And then the Colts' number 3 corner, they went at him 9 times in this game, connected on 8 passes, had 190-some yards, going against one guy specifically, and that is very Saints-esque. Like, they used to find the open wound on a defense, and they would just jam their fingers into it and just keep them there until, you know, the pain was, they folded or you know, it just wasn't there. The team would adjust. The Colts never adjusted, so the Saints just kept going at it over and over and over and over. 2 50-yard passes against the same guy, number 38. So that was the plan today. He was the mark, and they executed that beautifully. Mike Thomas had a 30-some yard reception against him. They just kept going at him over and over and over. And that's the stuff that Alvin was talking about last week at the podium. Like, they used to game plan for teams and kind of be specific in how they went about it. They did it today, and it worked just to perfection. And that's how they need to go in and approach all these games. And
there was a lot of in-game adjustments, too, that we saw that you just haven't seen. And look, that's credit to Pete Carmichael and his staff. Maybe those guys finding some confidence in this, what we're calling the mini bye week, the extended weekend off. And it seems like that mini bye week came at the right time. We mentioned the conversations that were had, but look, it wasn't all perfect. Alvin Kamara said, look, this offense still has a long way to go. But the reason why we bring that up so early in the show, we always keep talking about Michael Thomas being such a talented wide receiver on the slant routes, but it didn't seem like Derek Carr was able to find him.
Yeah, and
on those specific routes.
Yeah, both of them were poorly thrown passes. I'm sorry to say it. And, like, it was a thing on Twitter. People were like, nah, like, Mike should have caught it, hit him in the hands. Yeah, but, like, the first one was too high, and it was a little bit behind him. He had to, like, leave his feet to get it. You shouldn't have to do that on a slant. Just throw it to the inside, you catch it, and you go, and that's a completed pass. The second one was, like, behind him. He had to turn back to catch it, and he made the ball, like, it made the ball right there for the defender. Like, whereas if it's on the other side where it should have been to the inside of the field, it's a completed pass. That's a route they need to figure out, that they need to make work, that needs to be a part of this offense. Derek Carr hasn't done a good job throwing slants this season. It's just it's an irrefutable fact, and it's something that they do need to figure out and get better at, because that is the thing Mike Thomas is maybe the best at in NFL history. Like, there is a legitimate argument for that, and they got to find a way to utilize that. They tried a little bit, so there's still a lot of stuff they can build on. If this can be a building block and they add to it, great. The warning, and as you said, it's one game. The warning here is that just about a year ago to the day, it was a Halloween game. They're playing the Raiders. They win 24-0. It looks like they got everything clicking, everything humming, and it went back into the doldrums. So they just got to make sure they avoid it. But, I'm pretty encouraged by a lot of the stuff we saw today.
I agree. All right, moving on to our money segment presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. The Saints were money in the red zone. They were 3 for 4. Look, they probably could have been perfect, but it was toward the end of the game. They went for the points with Blake Grupe on that fourth red zone opportunity. It was right at the end of the game, but in 2, you could potentially add Taysom Hill, but they didn't count it. Obviously, he was at the 20-yard line and kept the ball and went, and people were wondering why that it wasn't a part of the red zone tries. but to go 3 for 4 and really command the red zone in the way they did. Alvin Kamara, a big part of that success. He had 17 carries for 59 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. He also had 4 catches for 46 yards and 1 receiving touchdown. Big day for Alvin Kamara. He was a big reason why they were 3 for 4 in the red zone.
Yeah, also money for sure. Like, he had an incredible day, and the balance and everything like kind of showed up. So that was definitely a very incredible performance by him. You know, the 3 for 4. I almost don't even count the last one because you're kind of clock killing there too. Right. So you're just kind of trying to eat clock up. And again, their plan down there was to run the ball, and that's what they did on that drive. But there's definitely a possibility that you throw it there when you get into like 3rd and long or something if you're actually trying to score. But it was more important to kill clock at that point. So I count it, but like not really at the same time. Like it's a half, maybe 3.5. Like. So, yeah, but that's what they need to do, and that needs to be a part of what they're doing every single week. Like, you have Taysom Hill, you have Alvin, you have Jamal Williams. Like, if those guys can run the ball and it's working and it's effective, just keep doing that. Like, Colin Saunders blocked incredibly down there. Cesar Ruiz had some really, really nice plays down in that area of the field. Lynn Bowden Jr. did a good job blocking today. So these are the things that they need to lean on, and if that kind of minimalizes the issues you're having throwing the ball in the red zone and you can be effective another way, cool, lean into it and find a way to make it work.
Speaking of Colin Saunders, he was a big part of the offensive success on a Taysom Hill-led drive, which brings us to our Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Here's the question. Any insight on how Colin Saunders got his role on the offense? I'm loving it, and he seems to thrive as a short yardage blocker. We did get the answer to this question in post-game today. Dennis Allen said it really started when Adam Prentice went down with injury, and Colin Saunders, apparently, according to Alvin Kamara, has been begging to be involved on the offense. He even said if it were up to him, he'd want to be a running back on this roster and change his number to 41 or 49. He made sure to say 49 right after he said 41. But Colin Saunders really has been a bright spot when it comes to that. And honestly, with an offense that was struggling, it's also nice just to see a little bit of flair and something different.
So how he got this role, too, like he used to carry, he was a ball carrier in high school. He did some of it in college. So it's second nature to him. And the background on having that, it allows him to just go in there and kind of do it and execute so they don't have to spend a lot of time teaching him technique and everything. So he's drilling all week as a defensive tackle, and then there's like a little period every Friday in practice. He goes out there, he goes down, he practices it a little bit, and that's what he does. So there isn't like a ton of time spent in it. Right. But he did tell me that he studies film, he knows his assignments, all that stuff. Like, so there is an effort, but it's not an extensive effort. But he just kind of has that skill set, and that's allowed him to do it. And man, how excited he is every time he goes out there and throws a block. It's incredible, and I think it just kind of lifts everybody up. It's become like a really fun thing that they're doing.
You mentioned extensive effort for Colin Saunders. He's usually not in on every single play. It's even on the defense, and so he was a little bit gassed on that drive toward the end. He was like, whew, I can do this, but that was a little bit different for him, and maybe it's something that will end up paying off in the end run. But it was kind of funny hearing from him, like, all right, yep, I'm not as in shape as the guys on offense are.
I wonder what happens when Adam Prentice comes back, if he comes back. Like, what are they?
To me, Adam Prentice was a liability before he got injured.
He wasn't having the greatest season, no doubt about it. And Saunders is kind of just like goal line, so there's probably a role for a fullback somewhere in the other 90 yards of the field. But yeah, Prentice definitely left the door open. But I think down in that area of the field, like I'm definitely sticking with the Taysom Colin Saunders package. Like it works and it's effective, and I just like watching it. It's funny. Like it's cool. Like,
it is funny, but it's enjoyable. Just like his joy that he brings to the field. It's just so fun to watch. All right, we've been tooting the defense's horn for the last few weeks, but
a lot of horn tooting behind us as well.
Oh, I know. Guys, excuse us. They are setting up for an event here that's coming up on Tuesday at Lucas Oil Stadium. So if you hear everything going around, we're all good. We're safe where we're at. Look, the defense struggled today with penalties. You had 4 penalties that set up scoring drives for the Colts. 3 of those came in the first half. Actually ran into defensive coordinator Joe Woods before the game, and the one thing he said was, we have to start fast. On the second drive for the Colts, they score a touchdown. Obviously not what the defense wanted, but this was a game where finally the offense showed up and did enough to get the win. The defense also did enough to get the win, but man, they let him get close at the end of the game, and it could have been another situation, even like the Jaguars, where the Saints had another opportunity to win a game and it kind of squandered. I mean, the defense could have potentially put them in that position again.
They struggled with the run today, too. That was a big thing, and we talked about it in the pregame show about this possibly being the first real test against...
Jonathan Taylor is a problem.
Oh, he is
For
a problem.
anybody watching this that just covers NFL teams and you guys have the Colts on your schedule... Whew, Jonathan Taylor is a beast. That dude's not getting enough credit.
No, he's outstanding, and that was a major getting him back here.
Yeah.
Puts them on track to look. I think Shane Steichen does a really good job designing offense. There was a lot of stuff they were doing where they get your eyes moving the wrong way, and it can cause issues. And just even watching it, sometimes it was hard to follow the ball. And you saw guys on defense getting their heads going the wrong way in that. So they do a really good job at designing this stuff, designing these runs. But, yeah, I thought the defense was a little bit sloppy. They were a little bit loose. I expected a little bit more out of them going against Gardner Minshew. This turned out to be a closer game than it probably should have been, considering how many points the Saints scored and how good the defense has been. I thought this was maybe arguably one of the softer performances the defense has had this year. So it definitely got way too close at the end. They gave up a touchdown way too quick. There was a lot of pressure on the offense to keep their foot on the gas, and to their credit, they did. So it was good to see the other side of the ball step up on a day when they had to, because we hadn't seen it the whole year. But the defense does need to tighten up a little bit, and that front is starting. There's a little bit of looseness in the pass rush and in the run defense.
They need to tighten up a little in a lot of ways. This defense was dealing. Unfortunately, we laugh about it now, but they were dealing with.
You are not making this transition. You are not doing this.
They were sick.
Oh,
they were sick. What did Alvin Kamara say?
What do they need to tighten up? Come on, you cannot do this.
What did Alvin Kamara say?
He said he called it a shit bug.
It was bad, guys. We're gonna get back on track, but look, there was a lot of guys who were sick. Marcus May was one of them. He did not practice all week. I need to catch my breath. Marcus May did not practice all week because he was dealing with an illness. There was 2 illnesses going around. Either you had what seemed like food poisoning on game day or the night before, or you had kind of what I was dealing with and I'm still dealing with over the last 2 weeks is just this shortness of breath kind of issue going on right now. Marcus May did not practice all week, and Dennis Allen said that's kind of why he wasn't involved in the game plan. But to me, Jordan Howden, once again, as a rookie, was able to step in and make some critical plays. Now, look, did he have a perfect game? We'll find out when we watch the film at the end of the day, but he seemed like somebody who stepped in and was able to at least plug that hole for the Saints.
Oh, my, we're live right now. Brooke, we are live on there.
I didn't even mean to.
Oh, my God. All right.
That wasn't meant to be a joke.
So Mike Thomas, I'm going to be professional here. Mike Thomas told me before the game that he had to take 9 bags of fluid to get out onto the field. And he played through it. So you saw him before the game. He had his arm wrapped up. He had to take a bunch of IVs. They were in there. It was almost like an infirmary in the locker room after the game. They were all kind of getting their IVs.
I know.
They were. So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on, and there was people showing up on the injury report all week. It was definitely a major issue for this team. They figured it out. We'll see if we figure out our situation here. But, yeah, it was definitely something that they were playing through. And that's – we're doing this. We're completely up the rails right now.
I know, it's so bad. I'm sorry, guys, if you're watching. Okay. The defense was able to get a third-quarter shutout. Demario Davis had a monster game, 12 tackles. Granderson and Shepard both had a sack apiece. Paulson Adebo, stop. Paulson Adebo with the interception. And then Alontae Taylor was feeling himself after the game. You got to stop laughing. Alontae Taylor, break down what's going on with Alontae Taylor on social media.
Yeah, so that was cool. He called out a tweet saying that he was going to have a bad game today. And when we had talked to him this week, he told us that when he started talking a little bit, talking his trash, that was going to be a sign that he was comfortable with his position. And he's been going through that, trying to learn how to play in the slot and try to get everything going for him. And look, there's ups and downs there. It's obvious at times that there's ups and downs there. So you've seen him struggle a little bit at times when he's out there in that position, but he's figured it out. He's starting to get a little bit better at it. And today was the day where he settled in, and we see him talking a little bit. So he definitely was feeling himself. He was playing a little bit better, and he was talking. So that's probably a good sign for him. We'll see how it goes. Look, it's one game, and I don't think we've seen the consistency there out of him that we need to. But it's definitely not a liability either, and he is getting better. But I think he's a guy that's a energy bringer. Like we were talking about Colin Saunders, like that play just kind of injects life into everybody. Juwan Johnson made a catch today and like showed so much emotion after it. I thought that injected life into the offense a little bit. I think when Alante's playing like that and he's talking much like CJ before, or I'm sorry, CD Deuce now, he changed his name, I guess, legally. Yeah. So when CD Deuce was doing that, like it was something they fed off of. And Olave was kind of that player last year, and every time DA talked about him, he would talk about his attitude, his energy, and all that stuff. So I think if you get him back to that spot, that's going to be a benefit to the team.
We're going to hit a quick break, but when we come back, look, we haven't talked about the incredible game. Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, as well as Rashid Shaheed. We're going to be breaking all of that down right after this.
Score big with the kickoff combo at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Each comes with fried shrimp, garlic herb fries, and your choice of soft-shelled crab, our famous thin-fried catfish, or traditional catfish, starting at $10.99 at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
No loan payments for 90 days with local financing from Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union on your next auto, boat, RV, ATV, or motorcycle. That's right, no loan payments for 90 days when you close your loan by December 31st. Jefferson Financial offers easy-to-use online applications, fast decisions, and local personalized service. The financial products you want with the convenience you deserve. We are Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
At Turo, we were born for moments like this. From bringing new bundles of joy into the world to delivering what new mothers need to stay healthy. Born to keep hearts beating strong and to keep seniors active and healthy for years to come. Because at Turo, we deliver more than babies. From heart care to cancer care and newborns to seniors, at Turo, we're born to care.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
I'll take a New Orleans Saints scratch-up. Play New Orleans Saints from the lottery. Just scratch, fold, and punch your way to winnings. Punch your ticket with New Orleans Saints. Win up to $100,000. Enter our second chance drawings, giving you a season to smile.
Welcome back to the mobile Turo Hospital studio. We are live at Lucas Oil Stadium, and we're under control at this point. Look, we've got some awesome things to talk about. Time now for our moment of the game presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Rashid Shaheed saving the pick that was thrown by Taysom Hill, which we all kind of had to check the stat sheet that it was Taysom Hill that actually threw that ball. And Rashid Shaheed, after the play was reviewed, ended up being a catch, and he was down before the defender stripped the ball out. I mean, huge play, saves the game.
No, it did. That's the second time this year he saved an interception. Yeah. He did what he saved one for Carr a couple of weeks ago, and that was a massive, massive play. That goes the other way. The whole game might get away from them. Like, they ended up scoring a touchdown after that. Like, it was a huge moment for them. So they definitely we're not going to make it through this show. We just aren't going to make it. We aren't going to make it through this show. But it was definitely a good play for them. So they needed that. They needed that. This was a good game for Shaheed because Shaheed was someone that was a little bit under fire, and we saw him getting working after practices because there were some plays where he wasn't on the same page with Carr. Today they were on the same page. Mm-hmm. They made some adjustments, like I said before, like on some of these routes and that. So for him to come out and just kind of do that, and man, all this guy does is make massive, massive, big, explosive plays. Well,
Dennis Allen even talked about it in postgame that, look, he's not somebody that has arrived just yet. Stop laughing. We are going to get through this show. For real. All right. Seriously, Rashid Shaheed, though, is somebody, we talk about Derek Carr playing to his strengths. Same thing with Rashid Shaheed as a young receiver. 3 targets, 3 catches for 153 yards. One was long for 58 yards. Look, I like some of the designs and play calling in this one too, specifically to Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill. And we're going to get into Taysom Hill in a little bit, but what did you think of the play calling in this game?
I thought it was better. Look, they got to the things they needed to do to be successful and make the plays they needed to make. You saw the choice route come back. That's really not something we've seen in the offense a whole lot this year. They ran the ball in the red zone, like I said. They attacked the middle of the field. And I think attacking the middle of the field is this thing that kind of opened up the whole entire game. And they got to it
several
early.
times, too. Yeah. It wasn't something that it was just a flash in the pan. It was something they didn't go away from, which to me was important in this game plan and figuring out how to win the middle of the field, because it just didn't seem like something this offense was comfortable throwing to.
Yeah, I think it was a 38-yarder. The 38-yarder to Mike Thomas kind of opened up everything from there, because then you have to defend it a little bit differently. When you got to defend the whole field, that opens things up. So I think that allowed them to hit some of the posts and some of the other stuff they were doing. So I thought that was huge for them, because that has just been a vacant area the whole entire season. I think he was, trying to think, 4 for 5 in that area of the field today for like 100-plus yards, 190 yards or something like that. And that's just more than we've seen in one singular game the whole entire year. Like the stuff over the middle is kind of just that first 10 yards, 0 to 10 over the middle, and then it's like the 2 blocks behind it. When you look at a throw chart, the 10 to 20 and then the 20 plus are usually blank, and they were actually hitting those today. So I thought that was huge for them today. The one play that got away that if they would have hit it, it would have just been beautiful for the middle of the field, is that seam route to Juwan. They ended up scoring right after, so not a huge deal, but that would have been a nice play for them to make. And when they can add that to their repertoire, it's huge. And as Alvin said, you put it on film, people got to respect it now. And I was talking to Mike Thomas after the game, and he said, look, like these are the plays, like just let them make plays. Like call them, let them make the play. Like these are the plays that they can make. So, I mean, I like seeing it. That's what they need to do. We've been banging the table, middle of the field, middle of the field, middle of the field. They hit it today.
And especially for Michael Thomas, look, he was a part of that as well. You mentioned how many bags of fluid did he have to get pumped into him? 9 bags?
Apparently 9 bags,
That's insane to come out here and play the game. And he didn't find the end zone like everybody ate in this game, but Michael Thomas came up with some big plays to keep some of these really important drives alive. All right, time to get...
look, he said, too, like, he took... there's 2 buses that come to the game. He took the late bus to the game. He said it's the first time he's ever done that. He's usually out here earlier because he wants to get ready, but he needed to get some more sleep because he was just kind of exhausted. And like I said, pregame, we saw his arm wrapped up and everything, so he was getting fluids there. They all ate on the field, but I don't know if they're doing a whole lot of eating now, because like that locker room is sick. So they got through it and they won the game.
Very sick. Somebody made a comment about the white jerseys. Bold. Very, very bold. All right, our player of the game is Taysom Hill, presented by Hard Hide Strawberry Whiskey. This is one that we were talking about at the end of the fourth quarter. Do we put Taysom Hill here? Do we put Alvin Kamara here? Do we put Rashid Shaheed here? It was so difficult. Like, all 3 had really, really big games and had game-changing plays in this game. But Taysom Hill, look, he gets the player of the game. 9 carries for 63 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. He had 1 reception for 14 yards. He also went 1 of 2 as a quarterback, 1 throw for 44 yards. I mean,
1 of 2 was a blessing.
How many times do we keep saying, though, like, dude's just a unicorn on this field? And, like, what can't he do?
Well, look, nobody was happier than Mike Triplett watching Taysom
Hill. Oh,
yeah.
Go look at Mike Triplett's tweets if you have not been on Twitter yet.
Man loves
That's his
Taysom,
guy.
man.
Yeah.
But, okay, first, some inside football, I guess, on the jersey thing. They don't actually get to pick those every week. Like, you have to submit those
that's tough.
in the off season, and there's actually like there's a list, all that stuff's in there already. So you can't change. It's not like, oh, we're gonna do it this week, that week. Like, they try to play it up like it's drama, but like that stuff is set in stone like 6 months before the season starts. So that, but yeah, where are we on player of the game? Yeah. So Taysom, Taysom's a great choice. Like he's awesome down in that area of the field. I love that Alvin kind of compared it to the tush push. It's just like a play that nobody can stop. You know it's coming, and they're going to execute
out how
it.
To stop
and
it.
I mean that QB power, the QB counter runs with Taysom, those might be the 2 best plays in the whole entire playbook.
All right, let's get to Chris Olave. Look, he didn't have a bad game. He just had some moments where he didn't seem like himself. Look, a lot has been going on. This guy, you made a good point. He probably hasn't been highly scrutinized in his playing career ever, because he was great at Ohio State. He came in and was a candidate for Rookie of the Year last year. I mean, he's a guy who has continued to play really well. And you get a new quarterback in, they're kind of struggling to find miscommunication. Then that becomes all anybody is talking about as we go throughout the week. Then you have the arrest for speeding, just trying to go home. It's really probably been tough mentally. We probably haven't talked about that enough, just what's going behind a young player's mind right now when all of this is happening. Look, he still was able to make some big plays happen, but the one where I believe it was just right behind us right here, they said Dennis Allen did say that he lost it in the lights, the ball in the lights, but that would have been a touchdown play, and I'm sure that's one that Chris Olave is going to want back.
And just kind of like where he's at with the stuff that's going on, that's just a tough play to have happen. That's like the worst thing that can have happen because it's a thing that could happen, if you're playing great, it's just kind of you just kind of move past it. And if you're not and you're in kind of a skid, like it's going to be something that people highlight and use it to tear you down a little bit. So yeah, that's something that he's got to kind of figure out a little bit. But the way you put that is the right way. Like saying the word the first time he's faced adversity would be wrong because you did the great feature on him, and like he faced adversity in his high school career, so he kind of got through that. But like the scrutiny, the kind of people questioning how he's playing the game and all that stuff, that's probably never happened to him before. And I think that it probably is a little bit tough on him mentally right now. And I think he just needs to make a few plays in a row. Like I tweeted it during the game. I think if it just clicks a few times, he can just hit the ground, be off and running, and be the explosive player that he is.
I mean, we think what we were talking about at the beginning of the season, we really think that he is going to be one of the greats by the time he retires at the end of his career because he has all the intangibles and the ability. Look, he's just going through some growing pains right now, which is a common theme on this team.
Yeah, but this is the stuff that define. You got to figure this stuff out to be the great player.
Agreed.
You got to figure out how to go through the tough times and come out of it and build the character and let it be a callus that you just keep going on from. So it's definitely something he has to figure out quickly. Look, I think you can argue outside of Marshawn, like he's in the conversation for most talented player on the team. Now you got to harvest that talent. You got to put it on the field. I thought he had an absolutely unbelievable training camp. Everybody that played with him thought he had an absolutely unbelievable training camp. But like coming into the season, like some of this stuff is tough. And then it was the catch over here too. Mm-hmm. Catches the ball, doesn't have the awareness of where the defender is, steps out of bounds, leaves 5 yards on the field. Like that's the stuff. Like I know Chris, like when he makes plays near the sideline, he likes to get out of bounds and he doesn't like to take it. And that's probably smart, but you got to know where the people are, and you can't give up yards in a quest to preserve yourself. Like make the play, take the hit. Like you got to do some of that stuff sometimes. So there's just little things that I think he needs to figure out. But the effort on the routes and that, like there's one that I kind of thought he ran a little bit weird, but outside of that, I thought he looked good. I think he's on the right track. I think he's going to figure it out, but you actually got to go out there and do it now. And this is kind of prolonged a little bit. Like it's gone on a little bit longer than it should have. So just kind of get right, man. You know what I've loved hearing in the locker room, especially from Alvin Kamara? What are we, week 8 now? Accountability. He was once again at the podium. We weren't perfect. Look, we left a lot of plays out there. Pointed out the Chris Olave play. Then he pointed out the Juwan Johnson play. Like, he's made that play before. I'm not giving that to him being in triple coverage. Like, no, he's a guy who could have made a play there. The reason why I bring this up is because this offense has not arrived yet. They have not had this perfect game where they walk off the field knowing they didn't leave anything out there. Now can this offense get to that game? We're going to see. I mean, I don't know. It's just, like I said, it's a step in the right direction. And I said it after, what was the last game where it was a step in the right direction and then they didn't take another one? Well, the Patriots was a little bit different. That was like such a smokescreen because that Patriots team, they played terribly. Yeah, they're a terrible team. But again, though, like you gotta take the step, then you gotta take the next step. And they're in, it's the fall now. Like you're past the early part of the season, you're into the fall. You got to make sure you don't trip yourself up, and you got to just keep going forward. And they've tripped themselves up too many times. So we'll see. I can't believe in anything until there's reason to believe. And at this point, they're kind of. As an observer of the team, you're kind of scorned a little bit at this point. So, like, it takes time to earn that trust. They got to earn that trust, no doubt. And that's not something that's going to be given after just one day. Before we go, let's talk about the defense. You did mention that, look, cleaning up, defending the run, and also mobile quarterbacks needs to get a little bit better. But what needs to get cleaned up outside of that for this defense to kind of get back to where they were at the beginning of the season? Look, we haven't watched the film yet, so that is going to change once Nick does his full film breakdown. I'm sure there's some things that you'll see, but what is maybe just keeping them away from having their complete game on defense? I mean, oh man, I almost said something that was going to set this off. They gave up too many explosive runs for sure. So that's something that you don't want to see. That was terrible. So I think the pass rush hasn't been good enough. There's just been a little bit of inconsistency, but I think it's the front. I think it starts with, look, I think the inconsistencies for the team is the lines on both sides. The offensive line has been way too inconsistent. Defensive line has been way too inconsistent. They went out to get all these players to stop the run. Yep. They couldn't stop the run today. Like they just couldn't stop Jonathan Taylor. There was just too much going on, and then Moss comes in, breaks off a run. So there was just too many leaky yards, too much that they were giving up. So they got to be better up front. They got to get consistent pass rush. It can't just be Carl Granderson. Like, they got to just be more consistent in that area. But the thing is with this schedule, like, I think the defense, if they show up and they play well, they don't play a quarterback for the rest of the month. Like, so they should have the opportunity to run the table here. And if the defense plays up to its level, they should have a chance. But again, I'm not going to assume the offense can go out and score 20 points next week until we see it.
Well, and look, I do want to give some credit to an offensive line that has been incredibly banged up. They've been asking guys to step up in roles that maybe that's not where they're best suited, and they were able to get the job done today. Look, I'm sure it's not perfect when we go back and watch the tape, but somebody asked Derek Carr, did you feel like you had to get rid of the ball faster today? And he said, no, I felt in rhythm. I felt like I was doing my thing. It wasn't anything different. Of course, they incorporated hurry up and 2-minute in bits and pieces throughout the flow of the game. I think they worked that to perfection in a way that maybe this is what they do throughout the rest of the season, which to me, like, that just is a challenge for any defense they're going to face. If you incorporate 2-minute drill and hurry up in bits and pieces throughout the flow of a game, I mean, that's just hard to defend.
Just the tempo stuff, too, getting in and out of the huddle really fast is another thing that you can do to kind of speed up the defense. So it doesn't all have to be just done at the line of scrimmage. You can operate in that way without, while still huddling. So, I thought they played at a really, really good tempo today. Sean Payton used to talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
Just, be on those things. Like, hammer those things, because as annoying as they probably were, that's the stuff that made them great.
Lastly, the next time we'll be live is Wednesday, which will be after the trade deadline, which is October 31st. So before we get out of here, what are we hearing right now?
I'm not expecting anything.
No Saints trades.
As of
Not
now,
even
no.
with Kirk Cousins tearing his Achilles. We don't think they'll call for Jameis Winston.
I don't think so. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's a few days away, but I haven't heard anything that makes it sound like stuff's heating up. The Saints are always on the phones though, and all it takes is one call, and one call can heat things up, and everything's flowing then. So just maybe. But right now, if I had to make a prediction based on kind of what's being whispered right now, I would say no.
Okay. All right. Don't expect any boom or bust to happen on the trade deadline, which I believe is 4 p.m, 4 Eastern on October 31st. Thank you guys for bearing with us through this episode. You guys are killing me in the live chat. I had to look away from it because I would have broke during the rest of I wouldn't have been able to make it through this show. But we will be back Wednesday in New Orleans. It will just be Mike and Nick on Wednesday and Friday. I will be back Sunday for the game, which is when the Saints will be welcoming in the Chicago Bears, looking to build off of a successful offensive performance tonight. We'll see you guys next time.